23-year-old nurse, Valerie Brookhart, is suing 27-year-old waiter, Billy Robinson, for assaulting her outside a nightclub. Valerie says Billy punched her in the mouth, chipping her teeth and dislocating her jaw.
Order. All rise. This is case number 4 on the calendar in the matter of Brookhart versus Robinson.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats.
All right, I have a claim, an answer, and a countersuit. And each of you claims that the other caused you injury during an assault that took place outside of a nightclub. Ms. Brookhart, when did this assault happen?
On February 2nd, Your Honor.
What time did it happen?
Approximately 2:30 in the morning.
Where were you?
We were exiting the nightclub. The club had closed, and we all kind of. I was with my Christina Moore, one of my witnesses, this one closest to me, and we were leaving the nightclub. The club closed. We were all leaving at the same time. Christina and his witness Michelle had some words in the bathroom. As we walked out of the club, it kind of escalated into yelling. At that time, Michelle swung at Chrissy. It had been snowing. Christina slipped and fell.
Okay. You saw all this. This is things that you saw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Stop shaking your head. You'll have a chance to speak. So this young lady swung at your friend. She didn't connect.
No.
And your friend slipped and fell.
Yes.
Okay. What happened next?
At that time, Michelle came over. Chrissy kind of stood up, and the two of them just went to town on each other.
So the two of them started to fight?
Yes.
And who else was outside?
Billy and a friend of theirs from Cincinnati.
Go ahead.
At that time, when I saw my friend was getting beat up, I stuck my arm out and I said, okay, whoa, 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 you know, this is enough. The defendant grabbed my arm and flung it and told me to stay the F out of it. So then he started hitting me with his chest. And,
what do you mean hitting you with his chest?
He kind of came up to me and started bumping his chest up against me, you know, telling me to stay out of it.
Okay.
He said, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You ain't got nothing. And I said, what are you trying to do? I said, are you trying to fight with a girl? And he's like, what? What? And I said, I'm a registered nurse. I take care of people for a living. I'm a woman. You're a man, and I'm not going to fight with you. He just persisted to hit me with his chest and push me. I kind of pushed him back and stepped back away from him. And he kept yelling at me and talking trash, basically. Finally, I said, you can't hit a girl. And he said, I'll show you I can't hit a girl. And he just wham, wham, and hit me, busted my lip in 3 different places. He came up in front of me then and started going like this, as if I was going to hit him back, like I'm stupid and I want to get hit again. At that time, I turned around. My face was numb. I'd never been hit before. My face was numb. I turned around to feel and see if my teeth were still there. He chipped 2 of my teeth. Then, as I turned back around, Michelle got off of Christina. They were on the floor wrestling on the ground. Yes.
She got off.
Kicked Chrissy in the back of her neck. At that time, Billy came over, kicked Chrissy in the back of her neck, jumped on her, and started beating her. I looked at Michelle. We kind of made eye contact, and I said, Michelle, get him off of her. Get him off of her. Michelle's kind of tapping him, saying, Billy, you're crazy. Billy, you're crazy. She was kind of pulling on him, you know, and we're both yelling to stop, and he's just, I'm beating the crap out of her. She still has lumps on her neck, Your Honor, and bumps on her head from this incident that occurred in February. At that time, I reached down and grabbed his collar, and I said, get off of my friend. He stood up, turned around, swung, and just made contact right here and dislocated the left side of my jaw. After that happened, I grabbed my friend and I said, we're going to the hospital. I said, I'm pressing charges against you, buddy, and you're going to be sorry.
You went to the emergency room?
Yes, I did.
You have the report? Please.
Yes, I did. These are pictures of my mouth, and you can see on my right arm the picture of the bruises, and that's the police report. That's mine and his.
Did you press charges against him?
Oh, I tried to, Your Honor, and they said that because it was a cross complaint, because I think he was smart enough to know if I was pressing charges against him that he'd better do something so he didn't get in trouble. So he also filed a report stating that I guess I attacked him, and so the charges were dropped because it was considered a cross complaint.
Okay. Do you have any medical records?
I didn't get a copy of any medical report. They basically just told me that my jaw wasn't broken, that it was dislocated, and that it popped back in on its own.
They usually write that down in a report, madam.
Yeah, I didn't get a
doesn't
copy.
necessarily mean that you always get a copy of the report, but I'm telling you for the future, it's a good thing to have if you ever go to court.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Robinson, now I'll hear your version of the events, please.
Okay. On February 2nd, we were at the club, like she said, and we were leaving. And the altercation started in the restroom with Christina and Michelle. And I told Michelle to let's go. just to not even bother with arguing with them. They proceeded, both of them, Ms. Burkhart and Ms. Moore, followed us out to the parking lot. So when we were standing out there, Christina starts making comments about Michelle's mother, and Michelle had asked her to stop making those comments. As we walked, they kept walking, pushing up beside us.
Who's they?
Valerie and Christina kept pushing up beside us. Finally, Michelle turned around and was like, "I've had it, Chrissy. Stop with your comments." Chrissy punched her. She punched her in the face. She made the first hit. And then after she hit her, I stepped between them and I put my hands like this to both of them and said, "Stop, guys. You guys are going to go to jail." They had been drinking. I think she had had a couple of beers. And I was like, "You both are going to go to jail. Stop."
You hadn't had anything to drink?
I hadn't drank. I have seizures. I can't drink on the medication. Oh. Anyway, after I had stepped in the middle, Chrissy then proceeded to hit me in the left side of my head, right here, around my temple. And upon that, I shoved her backwards and told her to get away from me. And when I did so, Miss Brookhart grabbed me by the collar of my fleece, which I have here. And she started punching me in the back of my head, yanking me. And she pulled me so hard that she ripped the collar off of it. And after her hitting me about 3 or 4 times, I was like, "Stop hitting me," trying to get away from her, pull away from her. And I did grab her arm, trying to get her off of me, and she would not let go. I did hit her after she had ripped and hit me in the back of the head, trying to get her off, and she still would not let me go.
Where did you hit her?
I hit her right here.
In the mouth?
Yes, I hit her there.
Go ahead.
And after I'd hit her, she still wouldn't let me go. And there was at one point in the fight that both of them were on me. They kicked me in the back of the head. I do have medical reports from the doctor where I was treated. I went into seizures and was taken by ambulance to the emergency room.
Let me see your report.
And I also have a copy of my police report.
Why did you miss 3 doses of your seizure medication prior to this incident?
I don't think that was actually correct. I had missed two doses.
2?
Which
Why?
was, I take 100 milligrams 4 times a day, and I had taken 200 milligrams that day, but I had been at work, and then we got off, we left, so I had just forgotten to take the other 2 pills.
There's also an indication here in the report that you have a recent history of alcohol use. Did you tell him that?
No, I did not tell them.
Somebody must have told him that you were with in order for them to treat you properly. You are a smoker, is that right?
I do smoke.
And there's a question mark about drugs, but certainly recent alcohol use is circled by the doctor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valerie Brookhart says she was assaulted by Billy Robinson outside a nightclub. Billy says he was punched first.
Okay, step up. You were there that evening?
Yes.
Okay. What were you fighting with her about in the bathroom?
It wasn't what we were fighting about in that time in the bathroom. It goes beyond that. It's every time that I'd ever seen Michelle after we had separated. She would come to my mom's house. She had came to our apartment, and it was just a really bad breakup.
So you had a really bad breakup. You didn't get along with each other, but I watched you as they were testifying, and there's no question that you were not only agreeing with the fact, but sort of saying, I did the right thing, that you punched a few people, right?
That's correct.
Who did you punch?
I did punch Michelle.
All right. Now, you explain to me why you punched Michelle, because she was getting in your face.
Right, well, we were fighting. I mean, she swung at me and missed.
And you fell down.
That's correct.
And then you got up.
Yes.
And what did you do when you got up?
I defended myself. That's what I did.
You hit her.
Yes, ma'am.
And you connected.
That's correct.
And you also hit him.
You know what? I don't even remember hitting him because she beat the crap out of me, literally. I felt tons of fists on me. I had bruises all over me. I don't even think they had a scratch on them from me.
Did you file a complaint against them?
I didn't, and at the time, Your Honor, I had...
You did or you did not?
I did not.
Well, why not if you had bruises and marks all over you?
Because at the time, I had a prior court date. It was just too much stress, Your Honor.
Prior court date for what?
I had a traffic violation.
You don't get too stressed because you have a traffic violation, madam.
Your Honor, I was with her for 2 years, and it was in a bad relationship for 2 years. I just wanted it to be gone, and if it would not be for this case, I mean, this is hopefully the last time I ever see her.
Well, I'm talking about hitting him.
Your Honor, he hit me. He jumped on me after Michelle had got up from me. I didn't charge him. You know, I'm not stupid. I'm really not.
Your Honor, she was lying in the fetal position, covering her head on the ground. He was crouched down on top of her. She didn't even see who was hitting her. I mean, at that time, she wasn't even defending herself.
There is no way that Ms. Burkhart could have seen where she was because she and I were in a totally different area than these two were after the fight got started. When she grabbed me by my neck, We were over next to the club. They were out in the middle of the parking lot.
I'm talking about before
and she
that.
had a hold of me, shaking me. There's no way that with mine and her confrontation that she could have seen how she was laying at all.
Step up. You're Michelle?
Yes, ma'am.
Michelle, did you take a swing at her?
Yes, after she connected with me right here, I still have the lump on the side of my head. I will not lie and say that when Christina slipped and fell that I did not proceed to beat the crap out of her, but when I came out of the bar, she consistently kept calling my mother a B, and just over and over and over and over again. And I took off my upper shirt and I said, Christina, that's enough. Stop it. And that's when we got face to face and we started shouting. Well, she swung and connected to me right here. Well, then my friend Sarah grabbed me, pulled me away. Then I had my back towards them. They were all three going at it. Then I finally went back because I told Sarah to let me go because they were going after Billy. Well, Valerie and Billy were hitting each other. And Valerie had a hold of this. The fleece was like this. Valerie had a hold of it like this, punching him in the back of the head. And for 6 months, I took care of Billy. And I know that any trauma to the back of his head or his back anywhere is going to send him into a seizure. And so I went to break him up. Then me and Chrissy were in a different location than them two. She slipped and fell. I ran up to her, I kicked her, and then I proceeded hitting her again. I'm not going to lie about that.
Were you the one who took Mr. Robinson to the hospital, or did he go by ambulance?
No, ma'am. I called the ambulance at the apartment because before we even got home, we were driving and he started having seizures in the car.
How did you know he was having a seizure?
Because when Billy starts to have seizures, his eyes roll into the back of his head and his mouth kind of goes crooked and he just shakes like that. And then when we got home, our roommate Jason and his friend Paul and Sarah helped me carry him into the house. I laid him on the floor and then I called 911.
How much did you have to drink when you were there?
I'm not a drinker. I had probably a half to 3/4 of a Zima.
What is that?
It's like a beer, fake beer kind of.
And you?
I had 1 beer and 1 water.
Yeah. The place would go out of business. Well, I must tell you, Miss Brookhart, his injuries seem a lot more serious than yours.
But he's known to have seizures. And he was drinking that night at the club.
How do you know that?
I know that because
we were there with him. We were a table apart, pretty
he
much.
came over to my sister's house and bragged about, him and Michelle both came over to my sister's house bragging about how they beat the crap out of us. That's why she's here.
Step up.
Sit down.
Tell me your name.
Vanessa Horsley.
How are you related to this whole case?
This is my sister. Michelle was a friend of our family. After they had broken up, she would come over to our house. We still, kept in contact with Michelle.
Okay.
They had come over bragging.
Who's they?
Michelle, Billy, and another person, telling me that they had jumped them, that they were kicking her in the back of the neck. I mean, they was telling me this in detail. They told me how they were on Special K and candy flipping.
What is that?
I don't know. You have to ask them.
Do you know?
It's some sort of drug. I don't know. They're known to be cocaine
Special
dealers
K?
Yes.
in Dayton.
I never heard of that. What is Special K?
Special K is a veterinary tranquilizer that they use that people do bake and sell as a drug. I've never tried Special K myself because it is a tranquilizer and it puts people in a comatose state. And if I'm going to go out and party, I don't want to be put in a comatose state where I don't know what's going on.
And what else aside from Special K?
Candy flipping? Yeah, I don't
What's
know.
candy
I have
flipping?
no clue.
Ecstasy and acid. It's also referred
Do
to
they
as
use
trolling.
these things in the club that you
I
were
don't
at?
do acid because
No. Do they use these things?
Oh yes, they use them in a lot of clubs.
In this club?
Yes, they have used those things in that club.
When did they come over and have this discussion?
2 weeks later.
Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes, the time that we were at Valerie's house was way before this fight ever
Vanessa's.
happened, or Vanessa's, I'm sorry, before this fight ever happened. And this is the only time I've ever met her in my entire life. And I have never seen her or talked to her since this happened.
You have not?
Not
You have not been to the house since?
Not once.
Your Honor.
I've been there one time. I met her one time.
Your
And
Honor.
it was way before the fight.
I spoke to Vanessa on the phone and told her on the phone what happened. We went to Vanessa's house before the fight. After the fight is when I spoke to Vanessa on the phone and told her what happened.
What did you tell her?
I told her that me and
look at
Chrissy
me.
got into it, and Chrissy hit me in the side of the head, and
Look at me.
that I beat the crap out of Chrissy, and Valerie and Billy got into it, and they exchanged some punches. And I mean, ask Vanessa. I mean, the whole 2 years me and Chrissy were together, Chrissy was beating the crap out of me.
Sort of interesting. You say that after this fight, when your sister was injured, that she came to your house? Who else lives in your house?
My husband and my 3 children.
Why would you have her in your house after she violently assaulted your sister?
I didn't know about it then, Your Honor.
You mean
They'd come over to tell me about it. I mean, they'd come over.
You mean you have no contact with your sister?
I lived in Cedarville and I had no phone, so anyone that wanted to make contact with me would come to my home.
You mean they just came totally unannounced?
Yes, ma'am.
Why would these two people gratuitously make the trip to your house and proceed to confess to the commission of a double assault?
I'm not sure, Your Honor.
I'm not sure either. I'm not sure if I believe you. How's that? Just doesn't make sense. Now you can all sit down,
Yes.
except you. Do you both believe that you behaved irresponsibly that evening?
No.
I believe that the situation could have been dealt with differently, yes.
You don't think so?
No, because I didn't start a fight with anybody. I was just standing there watching my friend get beat up. And when I tried to stop
No, you
the fight
did, in
is when...
fact, pull him on the back of his shirt and put your hands on him.
Yes, I did, after he busted my lip. After he hit me twice in the face, like you see in that picture.
Well, how did you get behind him in order to grab the back of his shirt after he punched you in the lip?
Just like I said before, Your Honor, the two girls were fighting. The one girl got off of her. Billy had already hit me in the mouth at this point.
No, I don't believe that, Miss Brookhart. I don't believe if you're hit in the mouth so badly that your mouth is numb and your lip is split and your teeth were chipped, then you're telling me you got back into the fray by grabbing him, not in the front, but in the back.
Because when I had turned back around, they were already on the floor fighting. And I just reached
They
right
were?
down. Yes.
They were,
Yeah.
not you.
Right.
So you got back into the fray.
I tried to get him off of my friend. So did Michelle. You can ask her. She did
So
too.
she tried to get him off of a friend.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe you.
Well, that's...
I don't know if I believe you. I believe that you got into a brawl that evening. Both of you. I believe that you both behaved very badly that evening. I don't believe, quite frankly, Mr. Robinson, everything that you tell me about your medication, about your not drinking at all that evening. I don't know about drugs. Probably not. There's nothing in a toxicology report here that indicates that you were on any kind of drugs, but I didn't see a toxicology report, but I don't believe that you had nothing to drink that evening.
There is a toxicology report there.
For drugs.
Right.
It's clean for drugs, but not alcohol.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And by history, either by history given by you or a friend who brought you in, you had had a recent history of alcohol, despite the fact that you tell me that you can't drink alcohol because of seizure disorders. Right, so I'm not exactly sure that you're telling me the truth either. However, I believe that both of you behaved badly that evening, and you got into a brawl. And both of you take care of your own medical expenses. Your claim and your counterclaim are dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't touch his head. I didn't even come close. I grabbed him by the back of his collar.
Drama. They love drama.
Would you have walked away from your best friend if she was lying in the fetal position getting beat up?
I'm from the South. I was raised a gentleman. I do not hit girls.
I tried to yell at other people to help, somebody help, and nobody stepped in.
This isn't the first incident, and it's the last, though.
I just want everybody to know what he looks like and who he is and that he beats up girls.
20-year-old waitress Raquel Garcia is suing the father of her child, 23-year-old construction worker Luis Cisneros, for a loan to pay his warrants and damage to her car.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 204 on the calendar in the matter of Garcia versus Cisneros. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Garcia, you and the defendant had a long-term relationship, and according to what I've read, you have a child together.
Yes,
How old is the child?
he's 4.
You claim that sometime in 1999, the defendant had gotten a series of tickets as a result of being in an accident.
Yes.
What kind of tickets were they, sir?
I was my license was suspended, and I went to court and I had to pay $1,600.
And according to you, Ms. Garcia, the defendant asked you if you could loan him $3,000 to pay those parking tickets.
Yes.
After some time, you did, in fact, agree to pay the parking tickets with your tax refund.
Yes.
Did you give him a check for $3,000, or did you pay those tickets directly?
I gave him the money. It was all cash. When I went to deposit the check, I took out half of that money, and then the rest I just gave it to him because I'm only allowed to take out $200 out of my bank account at a day.
Why?
That's just my agreement with my bank. It's a credit limit.
This isn't credit limit. You put in a government check from the Internal Revenue Service. How much was the check that you deposited?
It was $3,439.
So you deposited a U.S. check, a check from the Treasury, of over $3,000.
Yes.
How did you get the cash?
I have the transaction here.
Let me see.
That's the amount I deposited, and that's the amount that I put in. That's all they let me take out, the difference of that.
You have your bank statement?
Yes.
Let me take a look at it. Maybe I can make heads or tails after I take a look at the bank statement. Okay. When did she give you this money, sir?
I never received no money from Raquel.
How did you pay your tickets, your accident tickets?
I didn't have to ask her for the money. I paid the tickets on my own, my
How?
money. I have a job. I work. And
Well, you didn't pay the tickets when they were originally due, sir. So
No.
there were penalties. Correct?
no, the ticket, it was for $1,600. When they gave me the judgment, $1,600, and they gave me 2 months to pay. And, in time, 2 months to pay the full amount.
Yeah.
And I paid it like on March, April, the end of April. And I paid the whole amount.
I have statements here of the bank
And I think I was kicked out of her house.
Just a minute. You have statements from the bank that say what?
Tickets, the tickets that he got. And he was not kicked out of the house. He was cheating on me, so he left the house.
Just a second.
Your Honor, that does not have her address on it.
No, he left it in my house.
She kept my stuff.
Well, this doesn't say you owe him $1,600, sir. This says you owe him almost $2,000. When do you say you paid this money, sir?
The end of April of this year.
And how much did you pay?
I paid $1,650.
No.
Your Honor, I don't believe that's that same ticket then. Because I do have 2 tickets. At that time, I had told her about a ticket. It was just 1 ticket. And then they caught me again, and they gave me another ticket.
Caught you again for what?
For driving with us on a suspended license.
How much was that ticket?
That one was more.
How much?
I don't remember the full amount. About $2,200 and something.
You were living together at the time?
Yes.
How did he say he was going to repay you?
He was going to get a check from the union for $5,000, which is his vacation pay. And he said he would give me that amount.
Okay. The second part of your lawsuit, Ms. Garcia, is about damage to your car on the day that you terminated your relationship with Mr. Cisneros. According to you, you found the defendant in your car with another woman. You had an argument, and sometime later, he did a lot of damage to your car.
Yes, he did.
Tell me about that incident.
Well, he went to my house, and that's how I got the restraining order against him. He went to my house and tried to pick up some of his belongings. And I let him go inside the room, take out everything he wanted that was his. He tried to take some of my stuff, so I told him, no, just your belongings. You came for your stuff. So when he went in there, he threw a CD case at me because I told him that was mine. He just picked it up and he threw it at me and said, fine, and he cursed at me. My son went into the room, and I told him to leave because I didn't want him to see me and his father arguing. And I told him, no, let him stay there. Let him stay. Let him see what type of person you really are.
Let's get outside because your car isn't in the house.
Yeah, so then we went to his mom's house. I went to his mom's house, and I saw him walking towards it.
Why'd you go to his mother's house for?
Because he had called her saying some bad things about me, and I just wanted to correct that. And when I was backing out of the driveway, he kicked my car. He was arguing over my son's toy. My son had a toy, and he had it on top of the back of the dashboard, on the back seat. And he saw it, and he goes, that's my son's toy. And I said, no, I bought that for him. He goes, no, that's my son's toy. I said, no, I bought that for him. And he just was really upset. I mean, when he gets mad, he gets really violent. So he just kicked my car.
All right. And you
I
have
have
a
the
police
pictures
report?
and everything.
You have a police report on that and the photographs? Let me take a look at it.
That's everything I have in the car.
You want to tell me about this incident, Mr. Cisneros?
Yes, the day we broke up, I went to her house to get my belongings. When she told me, okay, come in, exactly the way she said. I went into the room to get my belongings, and I tried to grab some pants that she had bought me, along with some other pants of mine. She pulled those away from me, breaking the hanger, just making a big old scene. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to fight with you. You want to have all this? Go ahead. I started walking away. I got on the phone. I called my mother at her house on my cell phone. Could I stay there because I had nowhere to go?
Yeah.
She says, okay, go ahead. So I started walking. It's only a block away. I walked. She followed me to my mother's house. I was maybe 4 or 5 houses away from my mother's house. She speeded up, entered my mother's driveway. I walked into my mom's gate, walked past her, walked into my mom's door because it was open. She was waiting for me at the door. That was it. She was getting out the car, and my mom goes, oh, I thought you guys are broken up. What's she doing here? I go, don't worry, I'll tell her to leave. I opened the screen door and asked her, Rachel, can you leave? You don't have nothing to do here. So I'm not leaving. I don't have to leave. You ain't nobody to tell me to leave. I go, can you please leave before I call cops? Do what you want. I'm not leaving. This is not your house. This is your mother's house. Anyways, I didn't come to talk to you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me. You're not following me. You just said he was never violent to women. What did you need a restraining order for?
Because he would also beat up on my son.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Raquel Garcia says the father of her child, Luis Cisneros, owes her for an unpaid loan and for the damage caused when he kicked her car. Luis says Raquel is lying about everything.
How did her car get dented?
I do not know how that
My
on
son
her
will
car.
tell you. My son was there.
You don't want me to interview him, do you?
If you'd care, yeah. He saw everything. He knows how his dad is.
You mean to tell me you had your son in the car?
I had him in the car with me because I didn't have anybody to watch him. I went to go talk to his mom. His mom wasn't there. She had dropped off the kids at school.
Why did you, in this state of being angry with him, decide that this was the appropriate time to go to see his mother?
No, I wasn't angry.
Of course you were angry.
I wasn't. I was crying. I was crying. I wasn't
Let's
angry.
say angry. Okay, angry, upset. You were you just told me that you found him with another woman sitting in your car.
No, that
You had
was
a
2
big-
days prior.
You had a big argument with him. Told him to get his stuff. He was getting his stuff out of the house. You had an argument with him over his property, whether it was his property or things you bought for him. There was discussions going on.
No,
into
we
you.
were arguing over a sweater that I had bought for myself.
Whatever. You were arguing.
Yeah, we were.
So, what did you take that moment for if he's leaving and if he's gone out of the house to put your son in the middle of a potential problem?
Because
you're not receiving. You're speaking.
Because that
You're
day-
not receiving. You're speaking.
Okay, that...
Why did you choose that moment to put your son in a position of risk by going to his mother's house where you knew he was going? Stupid.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to
Stupid.
her.
No, because what you say does not have a ring of truth to it. You told me that he had a violent temper, that you had restraining orders against him, all this other stuff, and instead of just staying in your house and staying cool, you didn't tell me he was violent?
The restraining order was filed on June 19th.
You didn't tell me he was violent
I did.
before?
Yeah.
Of course you did. So if you told me he was violent before, and he was a little violent then...
But he was never violent with women. He would always beat up guys.
So what did you need a restraining order for?
Because he would push me.
Listen to me. You're not following me. You just said he was never violent to women. Only to other guys. So I said if he was never violent to women, what did you need a restraining order for?
Because he would also beat up on my son. His mom has the pictures to prove that.
Miss Garcia, I have a problem with a lot of things that you tell me. I do. I mean, not necessarily that I believe everything that he told me, but I have problems with a lot of things that you told me. I don't believe that you gave him $3,000.
I did.
I don't believe you.
I honestly, I did.
well-
His mom, I told his mom all the time. You can ask her. I told his mom all the time.
That what?
I'm loaning him this money. She goes, for what? I said, so I could give him, so he could pay the accident ticket.
Step up. You're Miss Cisneros?
Yes.
Do you ever have a conversation with Miss Garcia with regard to her giving your son money to pay off his tickets?
She said she was going to lend him the money, but I don't know if
Just
she
a
really
second.
did or not.
Just a second. Did she mention the amount of money she was going to give him?
No.
Okay. You deposited $1,679 of this check into your checking account, leaving a balance of $1,760, which you could have gotten back in cash.
They wouldn't give it to me.
Well, I don't know what you did with it, madam. I have no idea what
See,
you did
the reason
with
they wouldn't let me have all that money because all I had was $1 in there when I deposited that amount, and they told me I couldn't take out anything till the check was cleared. And when the check
There
got
is no
cleared-
deposit in your bank in an amount of
because
$3,439.
I withdrew half of that. That's why there was no deposit in that amount, because I withdrew half of that same day.
That's exactly what I said. And there is no other withdrawal here for another $1,500, which would have come to $3,000.
Because I can't take that much money out of my bank account. It's a savings account.
And there were no other withdrawals here within the next 30 days.
It's all the highlighted.
I see that. $61, $15, $2, $10.
Yeah,
I see
because-
that, but I don't see where there's a bulk check there, madam,
Because
for
that's
$1,500.
That's how much other banks would charge me to take that amount of money.
You got a story for everything.
He would, no, look.
No,
he
no, no,
would-
no, no.
the-
Listen to me.
Where he would spend that money are here with these girls. This
I'm
is where
not
he would
talking,
spend
I
the
don't
money.
care about that. You say you gave him $3,000.
Yeah.
I don't see where you got it from.
I showed you the refund. That's where I got that money from my tax
Miss
refund.
Garcia, pay careful attention, madam. If you had come here today and said to me, I gave him $1,700 to pay his parking tickets, I could see that. But when you make up nonsense that you gave him $3,000, that I don't believe.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Were they black and blue marks?
Yes.
I spanked him, but I did not beat him. I did not hit him.
Whatever, you spanked him.
Yes.
There were marks. Those are the marks that your mother saw.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Raquel Garcia says the father of her child, Luis Cisneros, owes her for an unpaid loan and for the damage caused when he kicked her car. Luis says Raquel is lying about everything.
Now, with regard to this damage to the car, sir.
I did not kick her car.
Yeah.
We were playing around, and she bumped into her car with her rear.
No, she did. She said one side to her rear. The other side, she said you did.
He goes, no, no, no. He goes, I feel really bad. I did that to your car. But he pushed me. We had me in a headlock. We were messing around, and I said that we were playing around.
You mean this was like a joke thing that sort of got out of hand?
He had me in a headlock. I tipped over with my heel, and I hit the car. But that's the other side. There's two sides to that car that were dented.
Well, the other side, I did not kick her car, and I don't know where she's getting that from.
It says in the police report. And that's what I'm telling you. You could talk to my son. My son witnessed it.
I hate to do that. I hate to put a 4-year-old in the middle of a dispute between you two people. I really
It's
do.
not a dispute. My son doesn't like him. You should ask him what he did to him.
When did Miss Garcia, he allegedly beat up your son?
It happened the week before Easter because his mom
What
took
year?
him away from me this year.
When you say his mother took him away from you, what does that mean?
Because she took him away from me because she thought I did that to him.
Is that right, Mrs. Neros?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, but Mario told me that both of them had hit him, and he had marks on his little butt.
No,
But
Shh, just a second.
he
said-
told me both of them had hit him.
Did he
So
say
that's
when?
why I told him, you guys are not going to take him out of my house.
Just a second. Did he say when?
No, he didn't,
How did you find out?
because I took him a bath.
Were they black and blue marks?
Yes.
Were there numerous black and blue marks?
Not a lot.
Did you ask him how it happened?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say?
And he said, Mommy and Daddy did it.
He said both did it.
Yes.
Ever seen any other marks on him?
No. No.
Not since then?
No.
Did you ever see any before?
No.
Mr. Cisneros,
Yes.
why did you hit your son?
That day, he was acting up, but I spanked him in his rear. But I did not beat him. I did not hit him, as I were to hit anybody. I spanked him, told him to stop doing that, and he pays attention to me. He stopped right away, and she has a little thing where she calls timeout. I told him, go on timeout. So he went and he sat in a little sofa bed, and he sat down. And that's it.
So you were the only one who hit him. His
Yes.
mother did not hit him at that time.
No. He kept on acting up. I told him, stop, or I'm going to spank you. And he goes,
Whatever, you spanked him.
yes.
There were marks.
Yes.
Those are the marks that your mother saw. And they
I don't
were-
know what bruises they're talking about because they didn't let me see him. I don't know what they're talking about.
Your
the
mother
bruises.
saw bruises on your
Yeah,
son.
they saw bruises.
She
I
saw
never saw him
bruises
naked or
sufficient.
bruises on
Hey,
him.
quiet. Did you tell your mother that you were the only one who hit him that day?
I had told my mom I spanked him, but I did not. Well, I told him I spanked him, yes.
Did you say that Miss Garcia also hit him?
No, I did not say nothing about her.
So you say
So I
you
didn't-
did.
Yes.
And it was after that that your mother gave him back.
No.
How long did you keep the child?
I kept
Mrs.
him like
Nurse?
for a week. and a
You
half,
did?
I think, yes.
Good for you. How many times did he hit him?
I'm telling you, he would lock the door whenever he would do this. He would hit him all the time. He would hit him all the time. My mom witnessed that, and she would even bang on the door telling us, leave him alone.
So what'd you let him stay in your house for?
I tried to give him a chance.
You tried to give him a chance.
I tried, because he hadn't seen his son for
Listen to
3 years.
me. Listen to me. You said to me, this is a violent man. He was violent with you. You said, no, he's only violent with other men. I said, if he's only violent with other men, why did you get a restraining order against him? You said to me, well, he's violent with children, too. Well, children? Which children?
My son.
Your child. Then you tell me that after being violent on more than one occasion, clearly, with your child, you let him stay in the house?
Yes.
Why?
Because I thought I loved him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have an estimate for the damage on this one side of the car only, please.
It's over there. It's a little paper. And that was an estimate from a friend.
Repair right fender and left fender. Cost $335, but he didn't cause the damage to both fenders, only to one.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cheap.
He's a friend of mine.
Miss Garcia, I cannot make heads or tails, madam, of this alleged loan to pay his tickets. What I believe that you did was try to figure out a way to get $3,000 when all you gave him was probably about $1,500. And that's going to cost you $1,500. I am, however, giving you $200 to have your fender fixed. This bill is $335 for both fenders. $200 should cover at least the one that he did by kicking it. You have some clothes there? Is that your counterclaim?
Yes, all my belongings.
What do you mean all your belongings?
Jackets, clothes, underwear, shoes, watches, jewelry, paperwork.
Watches and jewelry?
No, the watch he took, and the jewelry he took.
How much money have you paid weekly in child support for your son?
She still has not proved to me child support. She lied to me that it's not my son.
Mr. Cisneros, how much have you given her for child support?
I have not given her nothing. Nothing.
Good. So with all the money that you saved, go out and buy yourself some new clothes. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Good.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's a cheater and he's a manipulative liar.
She's been calling the other girlfriend.
She's been stalking and calling my new girlfriend, my fiance. And she's been driving by the house.
I just think he's a big liar.
I would like her to take me to court and prove to me that that's my child, because she lied to me before.
And now the next case.
All parties on Radford versus Talbot. Step forward, please.
41-year-old Valerie Radford is suing her neighbors, Dwayne Talbot, his wife Terry, and their daughter, 16-year-old Ashley. Valerie says Ashley vandalized her garage with shaving cream.
Are you the daughter?
Yes.
You're the daughter who did the damage?
Yes.
Are you their neighbor?
Yes.
Father?
Yes.
Mother?
Yes.
Who are you?
Insurance broker.
Sit down, please. Shh. What kind of damage did you do to the plaintiff's house?
I put shaving cream on the side of her garage.
Why?
I was retaliating because her son threatened my brother.
What did the side of her garage have to do with that?
Well, I just got it with shaving cream.
Now, what did putting shaving cream on the side of her house, is the garage attached to the house?
Yes.
What did that have to do with this childhood squabble?
Well, I wasn't going to use eggs because eggs damage too much, and so I was just like...
What were you going to do anything for?
Because I was retaliating from what her son said to my brother.
Well, that's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
When did you do that?
It'll be a year in June.
Did she catch you doing it?
Yes.
Did you do it during the day or at night?
Night.
Did you expect to be caught?
No.
So far, you're honest. I give you that. Dumb, but honest.
Yes.
And your lawsuit is to be compensated for the damage that was done.
Yes.
To the side of your house.
Yes.
Do you have photographs of the house?
Yes, I do. And it's not just the garage, it's the stucco. And that's the problem. It can't be removed from the stucco.
Thank you. Is this that line?
Yes.
That's there? Did you try washing it off?
Yes.
When were these pictures taken?
About a week after.
Have you seen these pictures? Would you show them, please, to the defendants? So did you get estimates to paint
Yes, I did. I have 3.
Can I see them, please?
The problem, my house is 10 years old. We moved in the neighborhood about the same year, and the paint can't be rematched. I mean, they brought books to try to match it. That's why they said the house has to be repainted. Because it's 10 years old, I mean, you know, the cracks and the normal wear and tear will have to absorb that. But it's just that we wouldn't be having to paint our house right now if this didn't happen.
Okay. Who do you want me to hear from?
The night that it happened, Valerie's husband came down to the house, told me what had happened. Ashley and I walked down, went immediately to talk to Valerie, and Valerie told us in no uncertain terms that she wanted us to do nothing, that it had already been taken care of. She then said that we should turn it over to our homeowner's insurance because her homeowner's insurance had said that ours should pay for it, which is exactly what I did. Now, the whole time, I have admitted there's been I never challenged the fact of Ashley doing it. This is the size can of shaving cream. This is exactly. We turned it into our insurance agent. The insurance agent, which I have here, Ted, the adjuster went out. There was no damage.
Well, there is damage.
Well,
there was damage.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She and her children have flipped us off. She has used her profanity.
That's ridiculous. I mean, her daughter was 100% wrong. It's also 100% juvenile.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valerie Radford says neighbor 16-year-old Ashley Talbot vandalized her garage with shaving cream.
You're the agent.
And I wasn't aware that anybody came to my home.
They didn't have to go into your home to look at it, so we may have gone out. What is your last name, sir?
Talbot.
Well, their last name is Talbot. Are you related to them?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you related?
This is my brother, Dwayne.
They do all of their insurance through your company?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you go out to look at the property?
Property was looked at after the claim was turned in August. It was observed. The case was negotiated with the adjuster, with the other party, and per the records that I've got, it was closed on October 6th.
What do you mean it was? I don't understand that. You mean the 2 adjusters got together from the 2 insurance companies? Who got together?
The insurance company got together with, I was informed, spoke with the defendant.
With the plaintiff?
Plaintiff, sorry. The case has been closed as of October 6th.
Well, but did you ever get a check from the insurance company?
I was never notified. No one ever spoke with me about it. The only thing I've gotten is being called names when I drive through the neighborhood.
Well, that's ridiculous. You have no proof that your company ever paid out a claim.
No.
Well, then it wasn't settled, because if the adjuster went out and spoke to them and your company closed the file, then it closed the file erroneously because she was never compensated, according to you.
That is correct.
So what are you doing here? Do you have anything to add to this case?
Nothing further.
Perfect. Sit down.
When Valerie talks about calling names, first of all, we very, very, very seldom drive by her home. That's number one.
No, when I drive by
Number two is every time she has driven by our house, she and her children have flipped us off. She has used her profanity. Even in public places, she has used her profanity. All that we asked was for this to be over and to leave us alone.
Well, first we have to resolve this issue of the house. I've read your answer, and your answer suggests that this was just some shaving cream and it can be washed off. But I've seen the photographs, and it certainly appears that there is some, and I agree, minor discoloration between where you put the shaving cream and the house. Minor. Unfortunately, to make it right, she will be forced to repaint it and power wash it because of what you did, if she wants it to look the same. So it's going to cost you more then, and I think that you have to take that up with your brother-in-law. I mean, your brother-in-law did not do the right thing if it was closed. That's ridiculous. You have homeowners insurance. Your homeowners insurance should cover that. This is not difficult. The money part isn't difficult. The other part is more difficult. You have children?
Yes, I do.
You have boys?
2 boys and a girl.
Is it the boys that are having trouble with her son?
And they're 19 years of age. Mine is.
Well, you all got to get your boys in tow because your boys are going to move out of the house hopefully sooner rather than later, and you're going to be left as neighbors.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I mean, her daughter was 100% wrong. There's no question about that, but it's also 100% juvenile and certainly not a good example for children, for your children, or your children, I don't know who's right or wrong, to see their parents acting in an inappropriate way. You would agree with that, right?
Yes.
You would agree with that, right?
Yes.
So if your boys are behaving badly, don't encourage them by setting a bad example. And in addition, if you're neighbors, you live next door to each other. It's terrible to have to pull into a driveway and feel uncomfortable, to have to walk down the street, to have to drive your car down the street and have your back up all the time. It's ridiculous. Life is too short. Ladies, life is much too short. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Well, I really think that the ultimate outcome should be that we have no more vandalism on our home, that we don't have to listen to any more profanity, and that we be left alone.
Well, I'm just thankful that it went the way that it did, and I want these people to leave us alone.
26-year-old pipe fitter Michael Guillen and his wife, 25-year-old cashier Debbie Navarro, are suing Daryl and Hope DeMoss for damage to their car after they ran into the DeMoss's son, 11-year-old Ryan. The DeMosses are countersuing for their son's medical bills.
Order. All rise. Down is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Navarro Guillen versus DeMoss. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
You were driving, Michael, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And who are you?
I'm Debbie. I'm his wife. I was the passenger.
According to your complaint, Mr. Navarro, you were driving in a residential area near a park. This is in an area where you live.
Yes, I live.
You are very familiar with this park area.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Park area where there are a lot of kids.
Yes.
And you were driving there on a Saturday
Yes.
afternoon
I was.
when there was no school, so there were a lot of kids out, correct?
Yes.
And the defendant's little boy came on his bicycle, darting out of the park, causing you to have an accident.
Yes, correct.
The accident was that you hit his bicycle, he went flying up on the roof of your car, bounced off, landed on the ground, correct?
Correct.
You are suing his parents for the damage to your car.
Correct.
They are now counterclaiming for unreimbursed medical bills for their son. Is that right?
Your Honor, though, I brought proof. I brought the police report.
Just a second, I'm not finished.
Okay.
I conduct the trial, all right? Do you have children of your own?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
3 boys.
How old are they?
9, 4 years old, and 6 months old.
So the 9-year-old is the only one who rides a bike.
Yes, ma'am.
Does he ride in that park?
Yes, he does.
Is it a windy road around that park?
No, ma'am.
Straight road.
Straight road.
Are there a lot of trees in the area?
Yes, there is.
Are they tall trees?
Yes, they are.
And what is the speed limit in that area?
25 miles an hour.
And how fast was your car going at the time that you hit the defendant's son?
On the police report, it says 25 miles an hour.
Well, the police weren't present. You told the police how fast you were going.
Yes, but they also took an investigation, and they have some mechanism that determines how fast you were going and
So they determined that you were going 25 miles per hour.
within the legal limit.
Shh. Now, you know what it means, posted speed limit?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean?
Means you must be going within that speed
Limit.
limit.
Or you are breaking the law.
Yes, ma'am.
That doesn't say you must go 25 miles an hour, right?
Right.
That means that the most you can go is 25 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell me the sequence of events up to the point where you hit this young man?
Alrighty, it was a Saturday. Baseball season was in effect. Picked up me and my wife.
my boy after his game, went to go have some lunch. We're driving down the street. I especially pay attention to the part where the sidewalk comes to effect because I have my 9-year-old and I do live like 10 houses from where this did happen at. And so I'm driving down the street, you know, telling my boys, yeah, we're going to get something to eat. Next thing I know, I seen this little boy just right in front of my car. So I slammed on my brakes, try to move left to avoid hitting the little boy. I catch him with the right-hand side of my van. He rolls up onto the van, looks at me, falls down. I immediately throw it in park.
You mean onto the hood?
Yes, ma'am. I immediately threw it in the park. Me and my wife both ran out. She grabbed a sheet from the back seat, put it underneath his head, and we tried to take care of him and call 911.
But during the time of that whole incident, when the parents showed up, we explained to the parents, we were sorry that we hit the little boy, but he came out of nowhere. We also told him if we were at fault, we'd be more than welcome to pay for everything if we were responsible. When we see that police report, and if we weren't at fault, we would like to work something out with them. So we waited till the police report came.
Let me see the police report. What kind of car were you driving?
2000 Nissan Quest.
You have insurance?
Yes, we did. We just barely drove it off the lot a week before that.
Good. What was your deductible?
$500.
So why are you suing them for $2,500?
Because that's how much the damages were. When we found the police report...
Just a second. That may be how much the damages were, but your out-of-pocket expenses are only $500.
But see, what was going to happen, if we contacted our insurance, if we were to pay the $500 deductible, our insurance would have gone up. Why should we have to pay for our insurance to go up if their son was at fault? So we both agreed that we were going to wait for the police report to come out. He also said on the telephone, Mr. DeMoss, that if the police report showed that his son was at fault, he would take full responsibility as being the father to that little boy, and him being out in the street and coming out in front of our car and we hitting him, that he was going to pay for it. So I waited. I waited till the police report came out. I contacted him. He says, I'm going to call my lawyer. So I waited another month. He says, I'm going to talk to my lawyer again. So finally, after 4 months went by, I said, you know what, I can't do this. My paint's starting to chip more. It's getting rust marks. It's a 2000 car. It's not fair that I have to get stuck driving a beat-up vehicle now. So that's when I took him to court.
If I was at fault, I wouldn't even have to be coming to court. I would just, any way I could help, because, I mean, I felt bad. I hit a little boy. My son's the same age. But, I mean, like I said, I was with my family. I was just driving down the street. I didn't know what to do after the accident happened, so I called the police. The police came, and I just go by what they said because, you know, they have all the special equipment supposedly to tell me who was going fast and if it would have been my fault and this and that. So I went by what the police report said.
There was also 2 other witnesses. The little boy and the little girl said that he did not look both
Don't tell me what any witnesses that aren't here said.
Okay.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a pipe fitter, fire sprinklers.
Pipe fitter? And what kind of work do you do?
Cashier.
Now, Mr. Navarro, according to this police report, there were 39 feet of skid marks, locked wheel skid marks, before colliding with this little boy. That's quite a distance. So you weren't right on top of him when you saw him.
Yes, I was. When he popped out in front of me, I was from no more than from your bench to right here.
But there were skid marks already
My
on the floor.
my back brakes locked. As soon as they did, and it drug out from, somehow, I asked them how they were going to do that. And so they were going to take away the distance from the van, from the front to the back tires to determine how fast I was going. Because when I got there, I mean, when I got to the car and I looked at the skid marks, they looked long. And I was like, well, you know.
They are long.
Yeah, they
39, that's the only figure that they have here. It doesn't say how many feet the skid marks were prior to the collision.
No, those were them. The only skid marks that were there is what the police went by. So
39 feet of locked wheel skid marks.
And my
But was
van
unable to stop prior to colliding with vehicle 2. He's vehicle 2. That's a lot of skid marks.
Yes, it is.
What I'm suggesting to you is, when I asked you earlier on, 25-mile speed limit is the limit which the law permits you to go in a certain area. But if you are familiar with an area, as you are, and are familiar with the fact that there are lots of children on their bikes riding around, children that don't always act responsibly, and you know that it's a Saturday afternoon in baseball season, so everybody's out, instead of going 25 miles an hour, you go 10 miles an hour. You go 5 miles an hour around the park, because you know where the kids exit from the park, right? There's a ramp, right?
Yes.
Most people think that pedestrians are usually right. Well, in this case, this young man who's now going to stand next to his parents, stand up here, he was wrong. How old are you?
11.
You know you were wrong for not stopping and looking both ways before you came out of the park and down that ramp into the street, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
It was a very foolish thing to do. You could have gotten yourself killed. He was wrong. He's 11.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
First thing I saw was that little boy on my hood. And I saw the helmet fly off. I saw the shoes fly off.
You are going too fast.
And later today,
she told me I shouldn't have paid my ticket. Her phone bill is more important than my ticket. And we started fighting.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Guillen and his wife Debbie Navarro say 11-year-old Ryan DeMoss was at fault in an accident while riding his bike. They are suing for damage to their car.
He's the same age practically as your son.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody hit your son while he was riding on his bicycle, who was going the speed limit in that neighborhood? And your son wound up with injuries. I mean, he fortunately wasn't seriously injured, but he was injured. How would you feel if the people who hit him said he should have been looking both ways?
I would have. If it happened to me, that's what you're asking me, I wouldn't even have to take it this far. I would have said, you know what, thank you for not killing my son. I'm sorry, it was his fault. You know, I just want you to know that whatever I can do, I'll do. You know.
Why should they do anything?
Well, if somebody hit my son and my son was at fault, I would at least offer to pay for what they did to the car.
You don't think that you have any responsibility, Mr. Navarro?
Yeah.
What's your responsibility?
Being on that road, I would imagine, because nothing else I could have done. I mean, I could have
Sure, no, yes, you could have. Well, that's your problem. You say there's nothing else you could have done. Look, I remember living in one of my lives in a cul-de-sac. You know what a cul-de-sac is?
Yes.
It's a dead-end street. And the posted speed limit in this little town where I lived was 25 miles an hour. Anybody driving around that cul-de-sac with their kids riding on their bikes at 25 miles an hour, I would consider driving like a lethal weapon, because there are kids darting all over the place, and you say, well, I can drive 25 miles an hour here because that's the speed limit, right?
Yes.
It would have been like having a dangerous weapon. You think that that's right?
Well, it depends on the circumstances, I would imagine. Nobody, I mean, and this cul-de-sac is different from our street. I go by the limit. You know, I go where I can control my vehicle. Usually,
you didn't control your vehicle. According to this, it was 39 feet,
well, yeah.
Twice the distance of this courtroom, where they saw skid marks.
Well, usually somebody would at least try to look. I mean, why would you just go into the street? I mean, even if I was going 15 miles an hour.
I'm telling you that he was wrong.
So, I mean, what do you want me to say? I feel like they deserve, that I deserve for them to at least try to fix the vehicle. It was their son who was wrong, you know?
And Your Honor, I mean,
if it was my son, I would have offered to do the same thing. I don't know why everybody just...
As to their son's damages, I mean, right when I saw him, first thing I saw was that little boy on my hood. And I saw the helmet fly off. I saw the shoes fly off. The little boy had no shoelaces on his shoes, had no socks on his feet, had his helmet unbuckled. He had no elbow pads, no knee pads. He had no socks on, and his helmet not clipped. If he would have had at least some more safety, then he would have not gotten as hurt probably as he did.
If you're going at an appropriate rate of speed, consistent with what the circumstances of that neighborhood are, and it takes you 39 feet to stop your car, and even after you stop your car, there is such an impact from your car as to propel him to the hood of your car, knocking off his shoes and knocking his helmet off, you are going too fast. 25 miles an hour is the speed limit, the maximum. That doesn't mean you have the right to go 25 miles an hour and say, whatever happens when I'm going 25 miles an hour, it's not my fault. He didn't act responsibly. That doesn't mean his parents are responsible. You're partially responsible, and your partial responsibility will cost you your $500 deductible. Now, if your insurance goes up, I guarantee you, Mr. Navarro, you will drive slower in that area on a Saturday afternoon from now on, right?
Yes.
Right. Now, as for your counterclaim, he was wrong.
Right, we agree.
He was wrong. And you have medical bills in the amount of $676.
Well, that haven't been paid.
By our insurance.
Right, insurance already paid over $1,300.
Okay. And he was injured besides.
Right, I have pictures if you'd like to see.
Sure.
We initially figured that since Ryan was partially wrong and we felt they were partially wrong, that we would pay for Ryan's medical bills and not try
And
to...
Your Honor, I'd also like to point out that this area, when he came out of the park onto the street, is a posted bicycle crossing.
I assume you've seen these photographs of his injuries.
I seen that day, and I will never forget. So I don't need
You don't have to see it again.
No, I don't.
You used up one of your lives. Do you understand that? If you were a cat, you'd only have 8 left.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you wear your helmet, and don't be a wise guy, and you put your helmet on. And I don't care what the style is. If you're riding a bicycle, you tie your shoes. Fortunately, scrapes and bruises, they healed. I assume it was a good lesson for you.
We told him he's the safest bike rider in Camarillo now.
Now,
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
bicycle crossing, lots of kids in the street, Saturday afternoon, you go 10 miles an hour till you get past the park.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Guillen and his wife Debbie Navarro say 11-year-old Ryan DeMoss was at fault in an accident while riding his bike. They are suing for damage to their car.
It's just like if you're driving on a parkway and the parkway says speed limit 65 miles an hour and it starts to pour, and if you get into a terrible accident and your defense is I wasn't speeding, I was going the speed limit, I would say jerk, because when it starts to rain it starts to get bad, your visibility gets bad. Instead of going 65 miles an hour you go 40 miles an hour. Nobody has to tell you that. You just use your common sense and do it. So the same way, you use your common sense. Bicycle crossing, lots of kids in the street, Saturday afternoon, you go 10 miles an hour till you get past the park. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it went just the way it should have. We were both at fault and we all agreed to it.
I think it was a fair decision by the judge, and they had concern when they hit me.
I was scared because I could picture my kid doing the same thing. And if that was to happen to my boy, I could imagine what those people would go through.
We're neighbors.
We're neighbors.
Sorry about all of it.
I'm very sorry.
29-year-old homemaker Sharon Jones is suing former friend, 43-year-old UPS driver Daniel Fills for pain and suffering due to an assault. Sharon says Daniel dragged her 30 feet with his car when she rebuffed his advances.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Now, this is case number 273 on the calendar in the matter of Jones versus Fills. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Jones, according to your complaint, you and the defendant, who were friends, got into an altercation in his car. You had called him to take you to some sort of party to see if there was anything going on that evening. He was nice enough. He came over and picked you up at your house, correct?
Yes.
What time was this?
It was about 12, maybe.
At night?
12:30, yes.
Had you been drinking that night?
Yes, I had, before I left my house, before he picked me up, I had 2 16 ounces of beer.
And so he picked you up, and what happened when you got into the car?
Well, when I got into the car, we were laughing, talking, you know, having a good time, driving. When we got into Dorchester, I said, so where are we going? He was like, we're going to my house. And I'm like, why are we going to your house? I want to go out. You know, are you having a party at your house? He's like, we're going to my house. I want to have some sex with you. He calls me shoo-shoo. And I was like, I don't think so. You know better than that. I was like, look, just take me home. He got really upset, started like screaming, you always give me a problem, and you people this, you people that. Then he gets out of his car. He takes his keys and his cell phone, gets out of his car, goes across the street, and urinates. Then a yellow cab drives by, and he jumps into the yellow cab and takes off in the cab. So I'm like, oh my God, where is he going? He's gone in this cab. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in this car, you know, in the middle of nowhere, because the argument went on for hours, Miss Judy, for a long time. It did, over this. He was refusing.
For hours?
Well, for at least like a couple of hours, because he was refusing to bring me home.
What were you doing, just driving around for hours?
Well, we were parked, yes, we were parked, okay.
And arguing?
Right.
Okay.
Arguing big time. So anyway, he leaves me sitting in his car, no keys, you know, nothing, in the middle of nowhere, in Dorchester on Bowden Street, which is a very high crime area, very dangerous area. So I'm just sitting there, and wondering where he is. So finally, I get out the car, I go around to the driver's side, and I'm looking like up the street to see, can I see a payphone, or looking down that way to see, could I see him? He comes back in the cab, and he gets out the cab. I said, Danny, look, this is ridiculous. Just take me home. This is just absolutely ridiculous. Please just take me home. He comes charging across the street, okay, pushing and shoving me all up against the car. He bit me in my wrist, jumped in his car. Meanwhile, I'm trying to reach in the car on the driver's side, get my pocketbook, and, and trying to, just struggling trying to get in the car, because I'm like, oh God, he is not going to leave me out here by myself this time of night. Meanwhile, he gets in the car somehow.
You were outside of the car?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And my coat, my pocketbook, everything was shut into the car, and this man dragged me at least about 30 feet.
And then what happened?
I'm screaming, Danny, please, please stop, Danny. He heard me screaming. I can look at the thing and see that he was going like 30, 35 miles per hour. And I'm screaming, Danny, 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 please stop, please stop, please stop. He would not stop. Then finally he stopped short, okay, and just drops me. Just drops me. Opens the door and just drops me. So I get up all, crazy, I was just like in shock. And I went to a payphone. I dialed 911. I called my husband. My husband and the police and the ambulance, all three showed up at the same time. I refused the ambulance out there because I wanted to go to the hospital. I was just so upset I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to go home.
So you refused medical treatment?
At that time.
So what are you suing him for?
I'm suing him for the injuries that I sustained.
Well, let me see the injuries. Where was your husband when you were going out partying?
My husband was at home. He knew that we was going out. He said that because I hadn't been out in a minute. I hadn't been out in a long time, so. And he said, go on out. He knows that Danny and I are good friends. Here's my medical records and the instructions that I got from my doctor. Here's the sandal where I was bracing myself. He could have killed me.
Okay, sir, why don't you tell me your version of the events of that evening in July?
Sean Jones called me, and she said that, Danny, I'm under stress. I've been drinking all day. And I said, well, I think you have to stop drinking, Every time you call me, there's always a problem with you. I said, well, I don't think I'm going out tonight because I've been working so hard today. I think I'm going to stay home. She's going to always call me to go out with her.
Okay, but you did go and pick her up.
Yeah, I went there.
What'd you go pick her up for if you didn't want to go out?
No, she called. I said, okay. I went there. She came out with big glasses of beer. I said, you're not going to drink in my car. It's not the first time I told you that. Leave your drink away from my car. And she said, okay. She finished it once. We went over my house together. We sat there for at least 15, 20 minutes.
Did you go inside of your house, sir?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And she said, we have to go to a party tonight. I said, well, I'm not going nowhere. If you want to go home, I can drive you back home. And she said, well, drive me over my sister's house. Okay? I said, well, no problem. And my way over her sister, she said, I'm not going over my sister's house now. I'm going over my house. I said, I'm not going to drive you all the way to her house because your sister don't live too far from here, only 10, 15 minutes.
How long did it take you to get to your house?
30 minutes from my house.
Okay, so you wanted to take her to her sister's house?
Yeah, because her sister lives in Dorchester.
Okay.
Not too far where I parked the car. She started hit my radio. I'm driving. She tried to. I said, well, I have to stop. I said, what you want to do?
Come on, sir. What happened? You got out of the car at some point, and you got into a cab.
Okay. The reason why I got out of the car, she hit me in my rear nose, my ear. I mean, I've been bleeding. I said, well, I think I have to leave you. You're intoxicated. You're not going to be able to understand me.
Why didn't you put her in the cab?
She don't want to.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had a lot to drink.
I did not have a lot to drink.
Oh, yes, you did. If you admit to 2 16-ounce bottles of beer, it was probably a lot more.
That was before I left my house.
Absolutely. I said you went out, you had a lot to
night.
drink that night. Pay attention, Miss Jones.
And later today.
All the bridesmaids and I got together and went bridesmaid dress shopping.
I told her, well, I don't have the money.
I had 3 groomsmen and only 2 bridesmaids.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sharon Jones says former friend Daniel Fills assaulted her by dragging her 30 feet with his car. Daniel says Sharon started the fight because he refused to give her money for drugs.
All right. You got into a cab. Where did you go when you got into the cab, sir?
I went back home.
Did you call another cab, or did you have the same cab wait for you?
I told him to wait for me.
Just a second.
I have to travel. I mean, that was on Saturday.
You took the cab home, and it was about 30 minutes to get home?
From my house, no.
From where the car was?
Well, that's probably 25 minutes.
I'm getting a headache. You took the cab home.
Yes.
Then you told the cab to wait. What did you tell the cab to wait for?
Just to take my stuff. I mean, my bag, because I have to travel the next day to Montreal, because all my stuff was there at my house.
So you went and picked up your bag?
Yes, because I have to travel to Montreal. I have to drive back to Montreal. I have to drive to Montreal that day.
You had to drive to Montreal?
Yes.
Oh, you were driving to Montreal?
Yes.
Okay. When you came back in the cab, did you have your suitcase with you?
Yeah, I came back with my suitcase.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Now, according to your answer, you try to pull her out of the car by her legs, right?
No.
Listen to me, sir. Let me read your answer. You say, when I returned to my car, Sharon was still sitting in it. I told her to get out because I didn't want anything else to do with her. She got mad and started punching my radio, which cost me $400 to fix. That's when I went around to the passenger side and started pulling her out by her legs.
She started punching in the window. She said, stop. This is my car. I can't afford another one. She said, I don't care. I said, the reason why you don't care because you don't work. You don't work. I mean,
you're having this nice, quiet conversation with her. The reason you don't care is because you don't work. It's in the middle of the night. By this time, it must be, what, 3 o'clock in the morning. You got 3 kids, right? And a husband who's home and has no problem with you going out to parties Friday night. He babysits for the 3 kids.
I don't go out all the time. It was just that night. I hadn't been out in a few months.
Oh. You remember hitting him?
I did not hit him, Your Honor. Honest
I don't think you remember anything that went on that evening, quite frankly.
Oh, yes, I do remember exactly everything.
Miss Jones, he had a scraped knee. That's what I see here. A very terrible scraped knee. You were out that night. You had a lot to drink. You got into an argument with him.
I did not have a lot to drink.
Oh, yes, you did. According to you, you had 2 16-ounce bottles of beer. If you admit to 2 16-ounce bottles of beer, it was probably a lot more.
That was before I left my house.
Absolutely. I said you went out without a lot to
night.
drink that night. Pay attention, Miss Jones. I believe that you hit him. What reason do you think he would have to leave you in his car? What kind of car do you have?
BMW.
What year?
94.
Nice car. What reason do you think he would have to leave you in an area that you say is not a good area, in his car that I'm sure he's very fond of, unless there was a problem?
The problem was that he wanted to, he was not taking, he didn't want to take me home because he wanted to take me to his house to have sex.
So get out of the car. What are you sitting there waiting for him to come back for?
I did get out of the car.
You were waiting for him to come back. That's what you said. You said you got out of the car, you were looking one way, you were looking the other way. You were waiting for him to come back.
That's right.
Why didn't you try to get a cab and go to your sister's house? She
I
was 15
standing
minutes
out
away.
there, Miss Judy, looking, oh, whatever.
Something doesn't smell right, something doesn't feel right with this case. In any event, I don't find that you were dragged 30 feet. If somebody's dragged 30 feet in the car, they have more than a scraped knee. You did not want to go to a hospital, and when you went to the doctor days later, all you had was a scrape on your knee. You get more than a scrape on your knee when a car drags you 30 feet. Wouldn't you say so?
I had a cervical strain, a low back strain, and a neck strain. I was
No.
Pain.
That's what you said. That's what you told the doctor. You reported to the doctor that you had all these injuries, back and neck, but they took all kinds of other tests, and they found nothing wrong with you except by your own reporting. You said this hurts, and this hurts, and this hurts. The doctor wrote down that was the diagnosis. Take aspirins. That's what I'm telling you. Take an aspirin. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She tried to get some money out of me, but she didn't get it.
I should have just stayed at home and instead of coming on national TV making a fool out of myself.
31-year-old homemaker Michelle Loftus is suing her neighbors, 33-year-old customer service rep Cheryl Earhart and her daughter, 14-year-old Robin Earhart, for stolen items, damage to her apartment, and damage to her truck.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 91 on the calendar in the matter of Loftus versus Earhart.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Young man, have a seat, please.
Ms. Loftus, your complaint is that you hired, I assume, this young lady.
Yes, ma'am.
To do some house sitting for you and take care of your cat.
Correct.
And your complaint is that when you came home, the house was pretty much a mess. Some things were missing. And in addition, there was evidence that someone had driven your truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And you believe it was either the defendant or one of her friends.
She admits to it, yes.
Okay. You're her?
I'm her mother.
Why don't you have a seat? How old are you?
14.
14. Okay, so you're really suing her mother.
Yeah.
On what day did this incident occur?
April 29th of this year.
You did work for her on the 29th?
Yes.
And what were your responsibilities on that day?
To water plants, make sure her cat was taken care of.
And how long were you supposed to stay in her apartment?
She told me she wouldn't be back till late night, so she just wanted me to be around there to check on her cat, and I could stay there, spend time with her cat.
Okay. What time did you arrive?
Well, I had went there in the morning.
Give me some time, an approximate time.
It was probably around 11.
And how long did you stay?
I was there for like 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, when did you come back?
About 4:30.
Okay. You came back at 4:30, and when you came back at 4:30, were you alone?
No.
Who was with you?
My two friends, David and Ben.
And how long did you stay at that time?
We stayed there about, I'm guessing around 7:30.
So you stayed through dinner time?
Yes.
You order in dinner?
No, I made dinner.
Where?
At her house.
Whose food did you use?
My mom's. Well, mine, essentially.
What do you mean? Explain that to me.
I went to my house and I grabbed some steak and the seasoning and everything like that, but I made it at her house.
You went back to your house to get the steak
Yes.
and stuff. And you left Ben and David in the house?
Yes.
And by the time you came back, how many other people were there?
There was 2 people in the house.
Just Ben and David?
Just Ben and David.
How many people in total were there that evening?
Just Ben and David.
So just the 3 of you?
Yes.
Just a minute. So you had dinner?
Yes.
Did you clean up after dinner?
Yes, I did.
Then where did you go?
Well, we had dinner and then we were talking for a little while, and then they were saying...
Look at me.
They were saying to go to their friend's house or have their friend come pick us up. So
Look at me.
we called their friend, and they came and picked us up. And they didn't go inside of the house. They came outside of the house.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you know about her truck?
Her truck? Well, my friends had needed to go home to take a shower or something. And
You left this out. You mean your friends David and Ben?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I could think of to get them a ride, because they couldn't find a ride with anybody, I found the keys and I handed it to them and I said, well, we just take the truck. We're only going to be borrowing it for a little while, and we'll bring it back and put some gas.
They had to take a shower before or after they ate?
Before.
And for some reason at 4:30 in the afternoon, Ben and David both had this urgent need to get clean, right?
Yes.
Yes. And I assume that Miss Loftus does not have a shower in her house.
Yes,
so
she
that
does.
so that they had to
But
go.
they didn't have their own clothes there. They weren't going to wear her clothes.
What was wrong with their clothes?
They were dirty. They needed to take a shower, and the only way I could find them a ride was with her truck.
So they used her truck. What time did they leave with her truck?
Like maybe an hour after we got there, half an hour, I don't know.
4:30, 5 o'clock they left with her truck. And what time did they get back?
Like an hour after.
All right, now, Miss Loftus, now that I've finished with her, tell me what you found when you came home.
I had furniture out of place, food droppings on the kitchen floor. The bathroom door was closed, and so I opened up the bathroom door, and there's a lit candle in my bathroom, and out runs my cat. So
From the bathroom?
Yes, ma'am. There was claw marks from her claw on the bathroom door when she was trying to get out. There was 12 phone calls on my caller ID from, I'm assuming, her friends. And after this, I was receiving several very obscene and threatening phone calls from her friends. And I believe that's how they got the phone number, was that day. I didn't realize that my truck had been taken that day because, like I said, it was late at night. And we didn't take my truck that day mainly for the main reason is my truck was very, very low on oil. I encountered another neighbor the next day who asked me, she said, you know, who was driving your truck yesterday? And I said, what do you mean who was driving my truck? Well, there was a bunch of kids that got in your truck. I know you don't have any kids. And so I turned around and went back home and I called her. I said, you need to get over here right now. I want my keys back. And I hung up the phone. Later, I went to go to her house. And that's when I thought I'd calm down. Maybe that her mom would be home because her mom is very seldom home. So I went over, went to knock on the door, and there was one of her boyfriends standing out there at the door. And I said, where's Robin? And he said, she's not here, don't worry about it. And I said, are you the one that drove my truck yesterday? And he goes, he said, that's none of your business. Okay. I said, well, then I'll just go call the police and we'll settle it that way. And I left. Just when I got home, I hadn't even picked up the phone to call the police yet. My phone rang. It was a boy's voice. And he said, if you call the cops on Robin, you're going to be sorry and your truck will never run again. I went out and I did look at my truck, and there's several dents and scratches in it. There was a half a tank of gas gone, and there was at least 70 miles driven on my truck. I have photos of my truck.
That I want to see.
Okay. And I also included in here, there's also some photos of the wall. There's some dents in my wall, one in the hallway, one in my bathroom that are up further on the wall, and there's a cigarette burn on the carpet floor. And I do have the police report.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. I have a map also that shows the distance that she admits to driving.
What do you mean she admits to driving? Did she
In the
ultimately
police
admit?
report, yes, ma'am. In the police report, she admits it, and so I mapped that out for you if you'd like to see.
Let me look at the police report. Who's Jason? Who's Jason?
One of my friends.
One of the friends who was there?
No.
Jason wasn't there that day?
No, Jason was in California that day with his dad or his
That's
mom.
interesting.
One of those.
Jason wasn't there. You're lying.
No, I'm not.
Oh, yes, you are.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There was some sort of sexual activity that went on my bed.
When teenagers have an empty house, that is a prescription for trouble.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Loftus says she hired neighbor 14-year-old Robin Earhart to watch her apartment. Michelle says Robin and some friends damaged her home, stole personal belongings, and took her truck for a joyride.
Now you can stand up.
Your Honor, may I say them?
Yeah.
One of the other things that I found in my house, there were several items missing out of my dresser drawers and my jewelry box, a pair of diamond earrings. I had some other things taken, but one of the other things that I found was that there was some sort of sexual activity that went on my bed.
Miss Earhart, when did you first find out about this problem?
I had come home from work, and Michelle met me pretty much at my car. She was really upset about what was happening.
Did your daughter initially admit to you that she and her friends drove the plaintiff's truck?
No. She had said that she did not use the truck.
Right. So initially she told you she had not used the truck.
Right.
When did she finally admit to you that she did use the truck?
It was probably a few days later. We were confronted by the police.
So then she admitted she was involved in using the truck?
She told me that they had used the truck, but...
What do you mean they had used the truck? What does that
well,
mean?
whoever was with her at the apartment, that they had used the truck, but that she wasn't involved.
She wasn't involved? If it's true that she wasn't there, she gave him the keys. She just told me she gave him the keys. How much more involved can you be? Excuse me?
Can I speak?
When I'm ready. You were entrusted to go into somebody's house and to perform certain tasks. Instead, you abused that privilege because you had an empty house, and when teenagers have an empty house, that is a prescription for trouble. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Prescription, especially a teenager with an attitude. And she's got an attitude.
She didn't have this. Her and I had a really good friendship. Well, she'd come over, we'd talk. She'd tell me kind of, a little bit about what was going on with her. That she had broken up with her boyfriend. She kind of took my advice, she said, and broke up with him because he was kind of abusive. And
which boyfriend was this?
I don't remember what his name was.
So now she had a couple of new friends. Now my next question to you is, she's 14 years old, so what you're doing is you're really suing her mother not for negligence, because this is not negligence on her part. This is an intentional act, right?
Correct.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
This is a criminal situation. And in a criminal situation, there is a different standard.
Okay.
So my question to you is, do you believe that her mother knew or should have known about her propensity for committing this kind of intentional act?
She should have known.
Why should she have known? And not you. You never had any indication that she would act irresponsibly in your house?
Since this has happened.
Talking about before.
Before, no.
You knew nothing?
No, she's always been very nice and polite to me.
And, by the way, who are these two young men?
These are two of the kids that live in the complex, and they actually saw all the kids that she had, because she had a lot more in the apartment than just the two boys that she says.
I'm absolutely positive that she did.
And they also saw her driving my truck.
Who saw her driving the truck? Step up here. Tell me your name.
Mel Blood.
Tell me what you saw on April 29th with regard to the plaintiff's truck.
I was playing with a couple friends, and I saw her get in the truck, and...
So who get in the truck?
Robin.
What else did you see?
I saw her running, her and some of her friends run up to Michelle's house, go in, and...
And how many people was she going in with?
I saw like 5.
Anything else that you saw?
No.
Have a seat. Thank you. Tell me your name.
James Blood.
James, can you tell me what you remember of the 29th of April?
Well, I seen the trucks and everyone was sitting on it. Everyone that entered her apartment.
Was sitting on the truck?
Yes.
How many people did you see enter the apartment?
I didn't see them enter the apartment, but there was at least 5 sitting on the truck.
Did you see anything else?
No.
Sit down. By the way, have either of you two boys ever had any difficulty with this young lady before?
Well, we were helping someone move into another apartment, and she come out and told the guy, "Why do you have these tattletales helping you?"
When was that?
I don't remember. It's like...
Was this after April 29th?
Yes.
Because you had told the plaintiff about what you saw?
Yes.
Sit down.
I have all the receipts and estimates for my truck. Would you like to see those?
Yes.
There was also medication stolen as well.
Let's hope it didn't do any damage.
I'm hoping.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor, can I speak? First, take your hand off your hip. Stand up straight like you're in court. You're not at a beach.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Loftus says she hired neighbor 14-year-old Robin Earhart to watch her apartment. Michelle says Robin and some friends damaged her home, stole personal belongings, and took her truck for a joyride.
Go ahead.
When I took my cat to the vet, I had to take her that Monday because she was acting really sick, and they did blood tests on her and found marijuana in her blood system.
What?
And she also had a toxin in her blood system, and the vet said that that was probably from the candle that was left burning in the bathroom.
Cross your arms.
Your Honor, can I speak?
Yes. Now I'm going to listen to you. But before you say anything, first take your hand off your hip. Stand up straight like you're in court. You're not at a beach. And before you give me a lot of crap, you want to tell me about that day, how the cat ended up locked in the bathroom, how 70 miles got put on the truck, and then we're going to talk a little bit about your friends and you making her life miserable over something you did. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Now you can talk.
First of all, when she called me, she did not tell me anything about the cat being in the bathroom. All she told me that there was a candle lit in the bathroom.
I'm asking you how the cat got locked in the bathroom.
I don't know how the cat got locked in the bathroom.
You don't know. How did 70 miles get put on the truck?
I told you we used the truck to get
No,
them
you
to
didn't
their
say
house.
we. You said the two boys needed to shower. You didn't say we. Now you want to say we? I'm going to give you a chance. You want to say we used the truck to go get them a shower. Did we use the truck to go get them a shower? Or did they leave you there cleaning up after a steak dinner?
I went with them the
Okay,
first
so you
time.
went... So
the
now there was...
first time.
Okay,
and I
listen.
sat in the truck to make sure nothing would happen to the truck.
Gets better all the time. Miss Earhart, I want you to tell me how many disciplinary proceedings you've had with regard to your daughter in the last 6 months in school.
2.
What were they about?
She was probably going to school about 3 or 4 days out of the week.
Since last September?
Yes. She told me she was going to school. Matter of fact, I didn't even find out about her truancy until the last quarter of her school because she was calling in for herself.
Did you have a parent-teacher conference the first semester at school?
Yeah, that was at the time that I had found out.
That she was being truanted.
That she was being
within the first semester at school.
Well, it would have been,
Like in November?
Mid-third quarter. No, that would have been first quarter.
I'm talking about the first quarter. I'm talking about going to school for a parent-teacher conference the first quarter in school.
No.
Did you go?
No.
Okay. Is there any reason why you didn't go?
I couldn't make it. They were way too early.
Okay. I just changed my mind, madam. It appears to me that the defendant, the older defendant, had knowledge that her daughter was misbehaving, or should have known that her daughter was misbehaving, if she had done what she was supposed to do as a parent, which is going to school and making sure that your child is in school, speaking to the teachers, being up on things. She didn't do that. She had an appointment. She couldn't make it. And you as a parent had the responsibility to say to her, before you hire my daughter and leave her in your home, I want you to not do it because I'm not quite sure that I can vouch for her. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, I am not holding her responsible for the things missing out of your apartment, because that is, well, probably true, a stretch. She is, however, totally responsible for the damage that was done to your truck. That's $1,330. And she is responsible for the injury to your cat, which cost you $34 at the vet. That's $1,364. Now, the only thing that I have to tell you, young lady, is you have to live in your own skin your whole life. She did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong.
I understand that.
Well, if you understand that, then it's up to you to make certain that your friends leave them alone.
I do not control my friends.
I'm just telling you, you may not control your friends, but if you are complaining to your friends that you got into trouble because of her, the morons that you hang around with will take it upon themselves to harass her a little bit. You wouldn't like it if somebody did that to your mother, would you? Listen, I'm not going to get through to her. I have a sense that she's a lost cause at 14. So why don't you do this? Why don't you change your number? Got it?
Will do.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I really do wish that we could have settled it, without coming here, but couldn't do it. Her friends, harassed me. They harassed the boys. You need to keep an eye on your kids. You need to know what your kids are doing at all times.
Shannon's company manager, Daniel Cruz, is suing his ex-fiancée, Shannon Kelly, for unpaid loans and for damaging his car in a drunken rage.
Yeah, this is case number 88 on the calendar in the matter of Cruz versus Kelly. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Cruz, Ms. Kelly was your former fiancée.
That is correct, Your Honor.
And according to your complaint, you believe that she owes you some money for some loans that were made a year ago by you.
Yes, ma'am.
And also, more recently, that she had a hissy fit about something and threw a potted plant at your car, causing some damage.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly says that while you were generous to her over the course of your relationship. There were never any loans, and she has no clue as to what you're talking about with regard to damaging your car. Who is this person, Miss Kelly?
This is my boyfriend now.
Does he have any particular knowledge of this case?
He does. He
About
was, what? Basically, when we had broken off the engagement, Dan had become very upset with the whole thing, and he had come to my house making threats, trying to get into my house, and he was there. And
well, that has nothing to do with this case.
Right. So basically,
basically, he's just here as eye candy.
Whatever.
What's the matter? Isn't that right?
Eye candy.
All right. When were you and Miss Kelly engaged?
We were engaged on January 5th, 2004.
For how long?
We were engaged until February 20th of 2004.
And when were these loans, Mr. Cruz?
Loans were done at various times throughout the relationship.
Mr. Cruz, let's get to the biggies.
Sure.
Let's try this. Nothing under $100. I have a $100 threshold that I'm going to hear. Sir.
I guarantee there's nothing under $100, Your Honor.
Perfect.
Okay.
Right. Give me the date. Give me what it was for.
Okay. The first one, Your Honor, was for rent that I paid for in May of 2003.
And how much was that?
That was for $400.
Tell me the conversation that took place.
The conversation?
Yes.
Okay. I asked her, I said, do you have the money for the rent? And she said she did not have the money for the rent. And she asked if I could front it for her. I said, sure, I'd be willing to do that, but you're going to have to pay me back.
Okay. Now, do you remember that May of 2003?
I did not receive my check through the mail yet, and he did propose to, like, not lend me the money, but to pay for my portion of it.
Okay. Miss Kelly, let's stop there. You say your check didn't come in the mail.
Right.
What check are we talking about?
My disability check.
How much did you get from disability?
I get about $1,000 a month.
What's the nature of your disability?
Mentally have stress, a lot of stress. Basically, I was fired from a previous job for sexual harassment, and from that, it caused me a lot of damage. And so I went to see, I was going to fight against them and sue them.
All right, so you received Social Security disability? Do you still?
Actually, no. As of a few weeks ago, no.
Now, your check hadn't arrived yet. So you must have said to Mr. Cruz, my check hasn't come yet. My check hasn't come yet. Can you front the money for me?
I don't even think I went as far as asking him that. It was, you know, he paid for a lot of things for me.
No, I don't want to hear a lot of things. Listen, I'm a very organized person. We're talking about May of 2003
Did I ask him?
and your rent. And your rent. So if you were accustomed to paying your rent out of your disability check and your check was late, the common sense would be, can you pay the rent, and when my check comes, I'll give it back to you. That's common sense. I mean, that's what one would think of what was said.
Correct.
Right. And he paid the $400, your share of the rent. Did you ever get your check?
Yeah.
Did you give him back the $400?
I've tried, and he would not accept it because he said that he didn't want it.
Okay. Now, when was the next loan you made to her, sir?
December of 2003, I loaned her money for a couple of sets of car repairs, actually. First repair was December 18th of 2003. That was for $227.
Right.
The other one was December 20th, 2003. That was for $180.
Any other loans, sir?
In January 2004, there was money that I loaned her for medical expenses. I had gotten back from a cruise, okay, so I took her to the urgent care. The cost for that was $237. She did not have the money to pay it. I told her once again I would loan her the money for the $237, but then she'd have to pay me back for that as well.
And those are the loans you're talking about?
There's also one more loan. I'm sorry, I neglected to bring it up. It was in August of 2003. It was also for repairs for her car, okay, and that was for $281.68.
And you want to tell me about the damage to your car, sir?
January 19, 2004, I was on my way to work. First Monday back from the cruise. On the way to work, I was rear-ended by a lady. At the time, the car was still drivable, okay, but I knew I was going to have to take it into the shop, but knowing that it was going to be in there for at least a week or so, I didn't take it right away. January 23rd, she and I had an argument. She got upset with me. She went outside. My car was parked in front of her house. She took a potted plant. She broke it on my car. Now, I had made an insurance claim on the damage that the other lady caused me. However, I did make an insurance claim on what she had caused because I didn't want there to be any type of legal recourse against her as far as
Because you were
criminal.
engaged.
Right.
And you stayed engaged for another month.
That's correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Bill Cruz says ex-fiancée Shannon Kelly owes for unpaid loans and for smashing a potted plant on top of his car.
Okay, let's hear about the potted plant, madam.
I don't know what he's talking about, actually. We fought all the time.
So you mean he's making this story up?
Or if somebody else did it, he never I mean,
no.
There's, I don't know what he's...
Anything else you want to tell me?
Yes, that this is not true. With the car repairs, he called me and said that he had a surprise for me, that he had recovered some funds that he wasn't aware of and that he wanted to get my car out. And I said, no, I didn't want to. I'd rather pay for it myself. And he insisted. Okay, he decided to do that. When I did get my check, again, I did give him back $200 because I didn't want anything from him.
Why didn't you want anything from him?
Because he would use it against me and throw it up to me and make me feel terrible in
What
fights.
kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a branch manager for a finance company.
Are you currently employed, Miss Kelly?
No.
And how do you support yourself, on disability?
I was up until recently, so now I'm going to find a job.
Do you live with this gentleman here?
Yes, I do.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a carpenter.
Okay. Here's your problem, Mr. Cruz. Of the 5 loans that you've made to her over the course of a 6 or 7 month period, she had not made any payments. Is that right?
That is correct.
That's not a loan. That's what you give to your girlfriend. I find that it's unreasonable to believe that if, in fact, this engagement came to fruition and developed into a marriage, that we wouldn't be standing here today. Right?
Well, that's...
Not well.
Not necessarily.
Well, not necessarily. I'm telling you that if you and Miss Kelly married, we would not be standing here today. You're angry. She didn't give you a lot of money. You gave her a lot of money. I mean, altogether, it doesn't amount to a whole lot of money over the course of a relationship that spanned a couple of years. But those aren't loans. Loans get repaid. Even marginally, they get repaid. And anybody you're in finance?
Yes.
Doesn't loan more money when the first loan hasn't been paid. And doesn't loan money for a third time when the first 2 loans haven't been paid. And doesn't loan money for the 4th time when the first 3 loans haven't been paid. Because if you do that, you're soon going to be out of business. Unless you're operating from your heart. Because you're involved in a relationship. And then it no longer becomes an arm's length contract. It becomes a situation where, well, if the relationship works out, so it's over. But if it doesn't, I don't want to be out this money. So, Mr. Cruz, get over it. Let me see pictures of the car where she dropped the potted plant. What's in that box?
Unfortunately, Your Honor, I don't have pictures, okay? And the reason being for that is because she called me the next day. She apologized to me for doing it. And when I went to her house, I showed her what she had done to the car. She didn't realize it. And she looked at it, she said, I'm sorry. She said, but you are lucky. I meant to put it through your windshield. And I said, well, if you put it through the windshield, it probably would have cost less. I don't have pictures, but I do have the pieces of the pot that she broke on it. That's what's in the box.
You think, sir, that I'm going to look at the pieces of the pot without pictures of the car? Mr. Cruz.
Yes.
And she called you up and she apologized. Let me ask you this question, Mr. Cruz. Between the 23rd of January, when she caused this damage to your car, is that what you told me?
Yes.
Okay. And February 20th of 2004, you were in fact engaged. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you intimate during that period?
Yes.
You forgave her. You forgave her, sir. She feels as if you forgave her. I feel as if you forgave her. You got to put a period and say, I'm moving on. And whatever money it was, it's a cheap lesson. And I'm very, very lucky that I didn't hook my wagon to this star, which would have caused you in the long run in your life, Mr. Cruz, far greater damage. You could have done the absolutely unthinkable and stupid thing to have married this lady.
True.
Right?
That's true.
Instead, this gentleman's going to marry her. That's going to be his problem.
Let him deal with it.
Right? Right.
Yeah, let him deal with it.
That's all. Good luck, sir.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's she's getting hers now. I mean, you can see with what she's with and what she's doing now, which is nothing, and what she'll always become in her life is nothing.
Basically, he just wants to, you know, demolish whatever life that I do have.
She was cheating on me with the gentleman she brought in the courtroom today.
He was tried to commit suicide a couple times over me. He even was put into the hospital for 4 days in the mental institution for throwing me across the room and bruising my table.
Look out for freeloaders like this one over here. She's going to cost you a lot of money, cost you a lot of heartache, and she laughs over here, but I'm going to get the last laugh when I see what her life has become.
And now the next case.
All party in the matter of Demmons versus Anise. Step forward, please.
22-year-old student Crystal Demmons is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old truck driver Anthony Anise, for his share of a trip to Niagara Falls. Anthony is countersuing for unpaid rent.
Ms. Demmons, the defendant was your boyfriend for a while. He's not your boyfriend anymore. And the two of you are squabbling at this point in your lives over a little bit of money. So I'm going to make very short shrift of this. And then I'm going to let you get on with your lives. How old are you?
22.
And you?
25.
It's your claim that he owes you some money for a trip you took together when you were still dating. He says he paid you for that trip, and he says you owe him money for rent. Right?
Right.
How long ago were you dating?
We dated from February to July.
And when was this trip that you took?
We took it in the beginning of April.
Where?
To Batavia, New York to see some of his friends.
And what was your arrangement?
The agreement was that we would put the charges on my credit card and he would pay me back the money for the charges. And his friends, because he knew them and everything, also gave us the hotel for half price.
Were you living together in April?
No, we were not.
Is that right, sir?
No. Well, in the beginning it wasn't, but when I got the place, she moved in with me.
Were you living together in April or not?
No.
I'm going to keep this simple. So you weren't living together, and you wanted to go away for a weekend.
Yeah.
You didn't have money?
No, we both wanted to go away, not just me. And it wasn't just to go see my friends. It was go to Niagara Falls.
Did you go to the falls?
Yeah.
Had you ever seen them before?
No.
And you?
I had seen them before.
You wanted to see them together?
Yes.
How much did it cost you?
A total of $220.85.
How much did you give her?
I gave her $150 in the end of June in cash.
Did he give you money?
I never received cash from him.
When I sold a truck, I gave her cash.
That was not for the trip.
Just a second. So you did receive cash from him?
Yes.
At the end of June?
It was not for the trip.
What was it for?
I had I got conjunctivitis. I work with kids, and I missed a month of work, and I was falling behind in my bills, and I was going to ask my father for help. Tony offered to give me a little bit of money towards some of my bills that are my regular bills. They had nothing to do with this trip. And he gave me that amount, and I went and I had asked my father for the remaining amount to pay my bills.
All right, so he gave you $150?
Yes.
Get over it. Now, you want me to deal with you and the rent you say she owes you? I'm listening.
Well, when she moved in, when I got a place...
When did she move in?
In the middle of May. She stayed with me until July 4th, and I kicked her out.
What happened July 4th?
I had a problem with her, so I kicked her out.
What kind of problem did you have?
A friend of mine caught her in someone's vehicle.
Okay, so
when she told me she was with somebody
you thought
else.
she was with somebody else.
She was with somebody else when she was supposed to be at her father's.
And what arrangement did you have in May when she moved in, sir?
You know, I really didn't have an arrangement with her. I'm only counseling because she's suing me.
So you really don't have a claim against her?
Not really, no.
Perfect, I love it. Easy. So your counterclaim is dismissed, right?
Okay.
Or you're withdrawing it because you really don't have a case. You just...
Well, I have no proof that...
It was nuisance. No, you just said to me you had no arrangement with her for rent.
No, I didn't. Because I told her don't worry about anything.
Then you had no claim. And I find that you did give her $150 because now she acknowledges that, which is enough to cover your share of the expenses for the trip to Niagara Falls. So your claim is dismissed. Goodbye, have a happy life, get over it, don't bother me.
He's accusing me of cheating on him because I got a ride home from a friend's house by a guy, and he had his friend follow me.
No, it's not. I mean, she was already sleeping over his house the day after, so...
He thinks I cheated on him, and he doesn't know his facts. He has no facts whatsoever, and he has no proof of anything.
I asked her where she was, and she proceeded to lie to me some more, saying she was at her father's, and she wasn't.
No, he had all my stuff packed up and ready for me, and I was like, save me a lot of work.
20-year-old delivery truck driver Michael Johnson is suing 20-year-old landscaper Jim Cummings for sucker punching him at a party. Jim says Michael hit him first.
Order. All rise. This is case number 340 on the calendar in the matter of Johnson versus Cummings. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, folks.
Mr. Johnson, you were an uninvited guest at the defendant's birthday party. Is that right?
Not entirely, Your Honor.
Who invited you to his birthday party?
There was a group of friends that were meeting up there that night, approximately 5, including one of my witnesses, Eric Sullivan.
Who invited you?
I was
Oh,
told...
it's not an answer, sir. Let me refresh your recollection as to what you said in your complaint. On August 27th, 2004, my friends and I heard about a party. So my question to you is, who invited you?
Like I said, there was a group of friends that were meeting up there that night. I was told to come by.
So the answer is nobody invited you.
Correct.
Good. And it is your claim that when you got there, you'll tell me what happened, but that the defendant, whose birthday was being celebrated that evening at his home, right?
Correct.
Hit you, and you were injured. Mr. Cummings says you were in fact an uninvited guest at his party. He told you to leave. You hit him first, and he hit you back, right?
Correct.
How old were you?
20 years old, ma'am, on that day.
And who do you live with?
My parents.
You live in a house?
Yes, ma'am.
How big a house?
4-bedroom.
Where were your parents?
My parents were vacationing.
Got it? Had you discussed having a party at the house before they went on vacation?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many people did they say that you should have at your party?
They said 20 people was fine.
How many people showed up at your party?
20 to 25 people.
So you were 5 over quota.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Johnson, tell me what time you got to the party.
It's approximately 11:30.
Where had you been before?
My house.
With whom?
I was a designated driver for my friend Erica and Renee. She came by my house, picked me up, then we picked up Erica and went up to Nashua.
What happened when you got there?
We got there, we ran into a few of our friends. There's approximately 5 out of 30 to 40 some odd people that were actually there. I had asked my friend Corey if he knew who lived there. He didn't know. On my way up from the basement where I thought I heard some people that I knew. I did not. Came upstairs. Someone had approached me, said, "Do you know, is Cummings down there?" And I said, "Sorry, I don't know who Cummings is." He laughed and walked away. Now, next thing I knew, I was surrounded by approximately 5 people, 5 to 6 people. One of them had said, "Do you know who Cummings is?" I said, "No, I don't." And then he said, "Why don't you try and guess?" So, not knowing who he was, I said, "I don't know, you?" And they all started laughing. Now, the only one who wasn't laughing was the defendant, and he came up to me.
Because his name is?
Jim Cummings. He then approached me, gave me an open-handed slap in the face, and said, "You and your friends get the F out of my house." I then turned to my friend Erica. I said, "Well, seeing as how I was just slapped, I think it's time to leave." A couple people had stopped me, asked me what happened. I said, "I just got slapped in the face by the person who lives here, and I'm leaving." And then the defendant came back out and said, "All right, it's getting too loud. Everybody needs to get back inside the house." And he was looking at me when he said this. I said, "Well, I think I'm going to leave anyway."
Good idea.
I thought so. So I was walking to the car. It was parked inside of a cul-de-sac. We were walking to the car, and there was a girl there crying. She's like, "Oh, this is garbage. I'm so sick of this. I want to get out of here." And I said, "Hey, somebody else who hates this party."
Is that this young lady here?
Yes, it is.
What were you crying about?
That there were so many people there and it was getting outrageous.
Because why?
Because everybody was a little intoxicated. There really wasn't that many people there. It was like...
I asked you a question. I didn't ask you for a whole tale. I said, why were you crying?
Because there were too many people there and it was getting outrageous and the neighbors were coming over complaining. And
Good. Now you can sit down. Okay. So